All right, welcome back to the show, everybody. Sully, did you have enough time to figure out that trivia question?
I don't even know who Hobie Baker was. I meant to look that up. Was he a great college player?
I don't know who Hobie Baker was. Should I?
Well, why would they name it after someone who wasn't a great college player?
Didn't have to be a player. Could have been a coach. Could have been an administrator. Could have been a president of university.
Great trainer.
I never looked it up either.
All right.
So
anyway, no, I missed it.
All right. Well, let's get to the answer here. 2015, Jack Eichel won the Hobie Baker Award, it's basically the Heisman of hockey. Which of these former Sabres did not win it? And Nathan Gerbe did not. Funny thing is, I thought Nathan Gerbe did.
I did too.
I remember Holzinger, and obviously everybody remembers Jury.
Let's hope Ben didn't get the question wrong.
Because Jury, he was on this tear where he won the Little League national title. He also won a Pee Wee title when he was 12. He wins a national championship and a Hobie Baker when he's at BU, and then he goes to Colorado and he wins the Stanley Cup. Guy knew a little something about winning.
Here, this occurred to me today driving the car. This question came into my head. Well, would you accept if Eichel was as good as Chris Drury?
Sure. I wouldn't throw away 2 seasons I wouldn't throw away 2 seasons for anybody, but
Drury was barely a number 1 center in terms of scoring. I mean, he wasn't a generational scorer. He meant a lot more to this team than they understood, than the hierarchy understood. He got it in more ways than any player I think that I've ever been around that played in the history of this organization. And I'm thinking Eichel might have a lot of that. He might have more of it than McDavid. And again, people should be happy about this pick. Another reason the general manager shouldn't have been making it seem like a consolation prize.
Well, look, the general manager, so let me explain something about Murray. Because when Pat LaFontaine was here, and I'm not going back through all of the Pat LaFontaine thing, but the way that the thing was going to be structured, he wasn't going to be the guy that was being thrown in front of the camera. Now, one of the things that I like about Murray is that he's made decisions without a whole lot of emotion. He got caught up in emotion the other night. That's what happened. And the emotion got the best of him, which is why somebody had to come in there and say, listen, here's how you handle this, put a big smile on your face, and celebrate Jack Eichel. Don't worry about Connor McDavid. But it wasn't structured this way. If you go back, the Ottawa Sun wrote a story in January of 2013, I believe it was, or 14. Anyway, after LaFontaine got hired and Murray was coming in, after Murray
14.
was 14, when Murray was coming in, there was a guy, Craig Oster. He's an agent at Newport Sports. As a matter of fact, he represents Evander Kane. He also represents Reinhardt. So, this guy, he's made a lot of money. He's a very savvy, respected man who's made a lot of money, and he was willing to take a swing at going to the management side of an NHL team. He was going to join LaFontaine and Murray. That was the plan. He was the guy that likely would have been in front of the cameras, or LaFontaine. It wasn't going to be Murray. The thing with Murray was that he was going to be the evaluator because he's a savant when it comes to that. I don't question anything that the guy says personnel-wise, but getting thrown in front of a camera I don't think that was in the cards the way that I read that story.
I remember the day they announced it, and I talked to Patty about the whole new structure, and it was going to be a more horizontal power structure, diffusing more responsibilities instead of the singular Darcy Regier old GM model. And then what we get back to is the old model.
Well, what happened on that day, Sully, was LaFontaine saying, I'm not done yet. I got more work to do. I would have liked to have known what the other work was. Well, this was part of it, I think, that Craig Oster was going to come and join this organization, and everybody was good to go. It never happened because LaFontaine got fired. Oh, wait, he didn't get fired, Sully. He didn't get fired. He resigned. He got resigned.
You know what I'm wondering now?
What are you wondering?
And I'll ask you this question. I'm wondering if it mattered that Eichel was in this draft, that they would have tanked the same way. If he loved McDavid so much, why wouldn't he have done the same thing? Look, for McDavid to have the greatest chance for him.
I'm going to go back to when this started, and that was before last season, even before that. The prize was Connor McDavid. Now, did they know about Jack Eichel? Sure, they did. Most people did. But he wasn't being thrown on the same level as McDavid. By the time he was done with his freshman year at BU, and McDavid was done with this year in juniors, they were being mentioned in the same tone, the same breath, on the same level. But this started with McDavid. Eichel was a nice, easy out to say, hey, listen, if we don't get the top pick, that's okay, because Eichel's still there. And you know what? I'm with him. I believed him. Now, I didn't agree with the tanking side of that, but I understood the rationale behind it. What this tells me is that Tim doesn't put Eichel on the same level as McDavid. He may be a great player, but he's not McDavid. I understand that. There's only one.
So you agree with me?
I do agree with what you're saying.
Okay.
Yeah. I mean, but it's, but it goes back, Sully, to, when you're losing, when your strategy is losing, these are the kinds of things that you should expect. The math doesn't go your way. I'm not talking about karma. I'm talking about simple math. There was an 80% chance they weren't going to get him, and they didn't.
Yeah.
So that's the problem. Now you can go back to, and another reason that you don't do it is because it doesn't often work. People talk about Mario Lemieux. It's once in 30-some years. That's the only the Penguins that year were the only team that I know of that were tanking for one specific player, to the degree that Buffalo was this year. What has happened in Edmonton, which has made a habit of finishing last and getting the first pick? Since 2009, 2010, Sully, they finished 30th, 29th, 24th, 28th, 28th. And there's what you have in terms of their picks.
And you're really rewarding incompetence here. And that's might be the biggest reason that Tim Murray was upset, that he saw Edmonton being rewarded for dysfunction. And I don't blame him for that, but again, he should have taken the high road on this, but maybe they should change the rules. There's been some talk about that, so teams can't get the top pick more than, say, once every 3 years. That would have taken 2 of these away from them.
I think that's a start, or a good rule. Now they're going to bottle up the final 3 teams. I've been saying for a long time now, I think that the top pick in the draft or the best lottery odds should go to the team that finishes 17th. 16 teams make the playoffs. The 17th team is rewarded for their effort and their competence and their competitiveness with the best chance of getting much, much better in a shorter period of time. It just makes sense to me. You can complain that, all right, well, what happens when you finish last? Stop finishing last. Get better. It's the pros. It's the NHL.
I'm with you.
So, I mean, that's one of the things. Sully, the question is, at this point, is what do you think is ahead for Buffalo, and what do you think is ahead for Eichel? We're not really sure what's going to happen with Eichel, but the Sabres have a lot of work to do.
Yeah, I think 3 years from now, they'll be a playoff contender. I don't think it's going to happen overnight. There's some people in town talking about 20, 30-point improvements. I just don't see it.
There's going to be a ton of pressure on this kid, and I can't emphasize that enough. He's going to be coming in here, especially now that they didn't get McDavid. They're going to be counting on Eichel even more. That's a lot. That's a lot to handle being a first-round pick, period. I don't care where you're taken. It's tough to handle. When you are taken as a lottery pick, it's tough. When a team spent 2 years losing to get their hands on a top 2 pick, and you're one of those top 2 picks, there's big expectations for you, buddy.
You need veteran depth in your roster to make runs and to make playoffs. And while they have depth, it's very young depth. And I know there's free agents too, but he just proved he could go out and get free agents that didn't make a difference. In fact, made them worse.
Yep.
I'm not saying he couldn't have tried to bring in Molson and Jonathan because he knew they were going to be terrible. He misjudged them, I guess, maybe he did know they were going to totally underachieve. And the fact that they knew they were going to tanking, maybe that didn't help. So maybe his next batch of free agents, knowing they're actually going to try to win, will do better.
Sully, he knew what he had, and when it started to get away from him, then he started trading goaltenders.
Just who's the goaltender next year?
Who knows? Go back and review this.
That's the other thing. Just go out and grab a goaltender. You'll get 80 points.
All right,
really?
We need to take a break. When we come back, we're going to talk some hoops, so stay with us here on the Bucky and Sully Show.